if something happens, let's say let's go back to the example about not getting that promotion, right? So I would reflect on, what is this decision or outcome, that I want, right? Based on the cards that's been dealt with to me. So I focus on the reality and say, what is it that I want now, right? So in the case of that promotion, I said, instead of focusing, that's something that's out of my control, in terms of not getting that promotion. What I can do is really kind of start to focus and really creating more of a thought leadership, more of a brand outside of my firm, and being able to kind of create almost an insurance policy for my career. Because I felt like I realized in reflecting on my career at that time, I had spent so much energy and thought and thinking and time and resources internally focused, internally making sure that people knew who I was getting on the right projects, I was building the right relationships with the right leaders, but no one outside of my company knew who I was at the time. So I said, you know what? Let me maybe spend some time and start building my brand outside of my firm. And that was the decision I made after thinking through various different outcomes and alternative decisions. So for me, that was the reflect part. Number 2 is reach out. So reach out, you can either conduct a real or a symbolic outreach to really acknowledge the person or the situation and help disassociate the emotion. Because when you think about, when we're angry or sad or disappointed, there's a lot of raw emotion and energy that's associated to that. Yeah. So I kind of break it down and figure out what type of outreach do I want, right? Is it that I want to go back to the individual? In this case, it may have been my manager to have a conversation and figure out, what was some of the feedback that I got that maybe I can do better in the future? Is it that if for whatever reason I feel like, I don't want to talk to my manager, which is also an option. I could have maybe written a letter, right? And if I wanted to mail the letter or not mail the letter, but I wrote the letter and to get that out, kind of empty my cup, so to speak. But I decide to do some sort of outreach, whether it's a real or symbolic, to really acknowledge the situation head on. I think that's important in order to make space, right? And in doing so, in making the space is the 3rd step, which I call release. And that's when, again, I make a conscious, intentional decision on how I redirect that energy, whether it means developing new habits, helping maybe achieve some of the goals back to the decisions and the outcomes that I made. So in this area, in the release part, I actually talk about 2 types of releases. You can have debilitating releases, like holding grudges or feeling envious or abusing drugs or alcohol, right? That's a release, right? Yeah. Or you can have what I call invigorating releases. And in the case with my promotion, I said I had already was at the time thinking of writing a book. So every time I felt myself getting upset or feeling that anger about what happened, I would pull out my computer or my phone and start typing. And I'm like, okay, let's redirect that energy into something more productive. And honestly, it was really kind of in going through that motion. And sometimes I have to go through it a couple of times, depending on the situation. Other times I go through the framework once. But I think the key is that it helps create intentionality around your actions.
It's beautiful. I took some notes while you were talking. So I want to come back to you. I want to play back what I heard and some thoughts I had in my head and see if I'm getting this right. Okay. So the reflect part, when you're really kind of thinking about what happened, what I really took away from what you were talking about was there was a sense of kind of almost agency and ownership from you. Like you were thinking about, well, what can I do in this, or how do I want to react to this? It was really a sense of, it was coming from a place of powerful position. Like what can I do here? Not what's been done to me.
Right.
And then after you've kind of gotten through that portion and you get ready to reach out, which I think is a powerful part of the step, it requires a sense of kind of, you have to be open to what the person's going to say, but also kind of acknowledge what you were feeling, thinking in a very kind of honest, open way.